Hey everybody, this is Bethany Arrington-Peck with BAVO coming at you with a very special interview series. I know, what is she doing? Is she a professional? No one knows. I am. It's exciting. Today I have PJ Palmer, writer, producer, director extraordinaire, who has worked on over 20 projects in LA and beyond at this point. But most importantly is a director of a very special short film that's near and dear to my heart called North Star. And I wanted to talk to PJ today about that project and a little bit about the voiceover that was done on the project. So, how are you, PJ?
Hi, Bethany. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be able to hang out and chat with you and see you. Right?
Yes, right? So much of this is over phone, Zoom, but maybe not with the video on. I mean,
Yeah.
you
Email. Lots
filmed a
of
short
email.
film in a pandemic. So
Yeah. I don't recommend it.
you don't recommend. Okay, would you just
No.
give everybody a little blurb about North Star and this very special project, I guess I'd.
Yeah. So North Star is a long short. It's a 30-minute movie, featurette. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
It's a short film. And it's something that I wrote that was kind of very personal to me. And it's about a rancher who like lives in the middle of the woods, like very rural, and his partner's dying. He has a husband, and his husband's dying. And the movie's sort of about some sacrifices that they have to make in order to like maintain their life for maybe a little longer, and then also the family conflicts they run into with extended family and stuff about choices they're making at end of life and about their marriage. So it's kind of a big family drama, but also oddly a love story. It has a lot of hope in it, and sort of, I think, maybe it shows a relationship I think just about anybody on Earth would want to have. Like the commitment the two main characters have is really lovely and kind of a beautiful love story, like a tragic, beautiful love story.
It feels like a love letter to the queer community in a lot of ways. When you watch the film, it feels like this love letter to all of the folks who haven't been able to love the way they want to love, and to get to see a queer relationship that has matured. And
Yeah.
it it's unlike anything I've ever seen. Um
Yeah, same. That's why I made it. I mean, we've been out on the festival circuit now for about a year. Actually, I think we're coming up on exactly a year in a few days. And I've gone to a lot of the festivals and hung out in the audience and watched the movies with whole audiences and lots of Q&As after. And nearly everybody has said they've never seen some of the images that we show in this film or some of the storylines, and I really love that. We got a lot of people will compare us to Brokeback Mountain because we have gay cowboys, but I always push back on that. Like, and Brokeback, by the way, I think is one of the best films I've ever seen in my
oh,
life.
beautiful.
Probably, yeah, it changed how I look at filmmaking and representation. But and there's a giant caveat as a comparison to my film is, oh, here's my cat. That's Nala. Nala. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
All right.
no, she's like,
Anyways,
no.
no, she'll come out. She'll be here. She'll watch. She's going to take over.
Yeah.
Um, is that our film? In Brokeback, those are very broken men. Hence the name Brokeback, right? They're they're
Yeah.
they're in the closet. And there's so much shame, and yeah, they live in an era where it's, you know, obviously they can die, and they do, and just from being who they are. And in this film, I'm showing sort of, and also they're young. They're starting their relationship. And in this film, I'm showing two men who are unfortunately kind of at the end of their relationship because one of them's dying, not of old age. They're in their 50s, but one's gonna not make it. It's pretty clear. But they're out and proud and strong, and their fight in this film is just stand up, just for their freedom to live life how they see fit, which is not what Brokeback's about, or actually a lot of LGBTQ plus films. It's rare to find one where the queer characters are living the life they want to live, no matter what. It
Yes.
happens, but it's rare, and that's what I like about North Star. It's
Yes.
these characters are living their truth and their freedom, to the way they see fit, which is what we're supposed to do, especially as Americans.
And it's also beautifully shot. I mean, it's
That's pretty.
beautifully shot. Some of probably the prettiest short film I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah.
And you're being
Yeah.
very humble. How many wins do we have on the festival circuit?
I think as of yesterday, 59. And
50.
we've been in 56 festivals.
That's a lot of wins.
Yeah,
That's
the
a
ratio of wins is pretty good since it's higher than festivals. We haven't won every single festival, but sometimes festivals we win a lot of awards.
well,
We were
didn't
just
one of the
recently,
horses win something?
yeah, the horse won. Yeah, Butterscotch. She won best animal. It was called the Beast Award, the best beast. She won it. And we submitted to a festival for the soundtrack, and that festival came back to us and said they awarded us 7 awards.
Oh
They're
my
like, we saw
God.
your film. We know you only submitted for the soundtrack, but you're going to win best film, best director, best actor, best actress. They just like, it's so good. We had to give you all these awards. I'm like, thank you. So, some places we win 7 awards, sometimes we don't win any, but our award ratio is at this moment higher than our festival
I
number.
mean, it's incredible. And we've had, I know you in particular, because you've gone to so many of these festivals. You've been able to interact with the audience. Like you said, sit with the audience,
Yeah.
watch the film multiple times on big screens,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's been an overwhelming response.
Yeah.
Overwhelming.
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, what's interesting is a lot of the awards we win are the audience awards. We almost always win the audience. If there's an audience award, we almost always win it. The audience loves our film, which that really feels good. Juries, of course, it's fun to win those, but they
Yeah.
get very political and strange, to be honest. And juries are usually like 3 people,
Hmm.
and but the audience, they get to vote on everything they see all festival long, and North Star generally wins those, which is just great. I love that audiences love our film.
Well, and that's one of the reasons I'm talking to you now and putting this interview out now, is you've done something very, very special for our audiences, by making it available to
Yeah.
everyone.
Well, I mean, Bethany, from the very beginning, before I asked for money, it took a lot of money to make this film, and then COVID doubled it because we lost so much, had to re-raise money, and it was all donation based. People could donate into a 501(c)(3) for us, and
Wow.
there's a whole back end of how that works, and how most short films get their money, because
Mhm.
there's no market to make money. The short films don't make money. They just don't. They just eat money. But and so I was very honest with my people who were putting money. I was like, you're never getting this back. This is a donation. There's no return on investment here, because there's just no business model. And I said, let's just say let's say Netflix comes along and buys it,
Mhm.
and they want to give us a shit ton of money. There's no ROI. You're not getting any of it back.
Yeah.
And if we make a profit, it goes to charity, because we're not doing this for money. We're doing it because we believe that this film needs to be out in the world. The story needs to be out in the world. There's people who need it, and we're going to give it away and make sure. So now I think as of a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we put it up on YouTube. It's free for the world, and you can go watch it. It's yours.
Yeah. And I'm going to
Yeah.
put the link down below this, obviously, and I want everyone to watch it for all the reasons, but I especially want them to watch it because, no, I'm just kidding. Well, I am going to say this because I am now 1 degree away from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, right. So yeah, so Bethany, so you came into the film. Have you described yet what you did on the film?
No, and I haven't really, we were getting so much like wonderful press about the actors that you actually saw that I was like, I don't need to like throw my hat in the ring and like, by the way, I was there, aka not there in my booth. Um, but
Yeah,
so
you need to do that.
I,
That's everybody. It's your film too. It's all of our film. We all
it
have to.
and it
Yes.
absolutely feels like that, but I have to say, I mean, with like Coleman and Malcolm, like the acting that goes on on screen, it's
But
humbling to
your
be a part of
performance
it.
does come up in some of the reviews. I wish I had thought about that before.
Oh, I
Phone
and
call.
of course I'm just excited to be a part of it. No, I
But
so
people talk about the phone call because it's important that of how that happens in the movie, right? And in this film, what happens is one of the characters is rudely on the phone in front of her brother who can't speak because he's so ill, and she's just talking about him right in his face, and we can hear the voice on the phone, how disconcerting that scene is, about like, wow, like these people are just talking about this guy right in front of his face.
Yeah.
Not that your character knows. I guess your
No.
character wouldn't know that he's sitting right there because you can't see him, but still.
But it was interesting to me that you were like, no, I really want this other voice on the phone, because a lot of people do phone calls and film and you don't know what the other person is doing, and it's just really fun acting for the person that's on the
Yeah,
phone call. And the editing was superb, obviously. I mean, the whole thing was superb, but I was really, really pleased when I got to see it, because so I did the the other half of this phone call. And PJ, you and I worked and we decided that this was probably a woman around my age who looked up to the character on the, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her character
Aaron.
name. Erin, thank you. Who looked up to Erin probably at church. This was
Yeah,
someone that maybe she was mentoring, and you and I think this, we established that both of us grew up in
yeah,
church, in church. And very familiar with those relationships. And so Erin's talking to this young woman, and yeah, basically talking about her ill
yeah,
brother in front of him. And it was super interesting because I got to see the not finished version of the film, kind of got to time, no, really did got to time my responses to Erin on screen, and get an idea for how this was going to go. And like, oh, and
yeah,
we established this before I of course started recording, that it was a separate script. The You didn't write in this conversation in the original script. You wrote this. Did you write it later, or was it, how did that work?
I wrote it just before I met you.
Oh, okay.
So I did. It's not in the original script for several reasons. For one, because it would have made the script too long. It's
Yes.
really hard to get dual dialogue into a script, And in this particular scene, it would have been quadruple dialogue because you two are talking, the television's talking. There's a lot going on, and that was all. What I wanted to design is that in this film we start early in the morning, like 4 in the morning. And there's just one character, Coleman Domingo's character, James,
Hmm.
in the dark, taking care of his ranch, and then as the sun rises, after we're kind of watching him, following him, deal with his animals and do his chores, and then we realize he's got this alien husband in bed, and so he takes care of him, and that's a kind of intense thing. It's very quiet. Everything's just very quiet.
So
You can hear
quiet.
birds, the creaking of the floors, and we put all the sounds into the movie. Like every single sound in the movie except for the actors' voices is all post-production. There's none of the sounds are from production, not one.
It's very
Everything.
rich. The
Yeah,
soundscape is
it's
very
very
rich for
rich.
that reason. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a great team of Foley artists work on it. My wonderful friend Brandon Proctor, who's a BAFTA winner, I believe, and Oscar nominee for. He works at Skywalker Sound, and he
Wow.
does movies. It's little movies like Black Panther and Quiet Place. Little things.
Little
So
things.
he's genius, and so yeah, we went there with this film. I mean, we went into those levels of richness and sound. And part of it was I wanted to make the beginning of the film very slow and quiet. Even though there's a lot of sound in the beginning, it's little stuff. It's the crackling of the fire.
Hmm.
It's maybe you hear a dryer down the hall, kind of just life sounds. But then when Erin arrives, the sister, she comes in like a hurricane, and she doesn't ask permission, and she brings a lot of stress and energy into this very sacred home. And with her comes noise, and I layer it in as everything she does. It's just more noise. It starts to pile on, and she turns the channel of the TV to something, and then she's on the phone. And not only is she on the phone, but she's on a landline phone, because we made it that like maybe these guys live in a place there's no cell phones.
Yeah.
She kind of even says that in her things. Like, can you believe they don't have cell service yet? So she's on a landline with a long cord, and all that was designed to sort of just make this crescendo of sound, of chaos, for this poor man who's sitting there who can't move and can't do anything about it. And I'm going to share my screen with you. Is that okay?
Yeah. Oh yeah, please do.
Let's see, desktop 2. My desktop's a mess.
It's okay.
So
We won't judge you. Probably other people
that's
will, but I
all I
won't.
want, but it's just a mess. Is this the one I want? No. That one. Share.
Oh, here we go. All right.
So
Oh,
this was one of the early, the storyboards, right? And so
yeah.
let's see if I can in on this guy. You zoom in. This is an image looking at Erin there on the phone, and
Yep.
she's got the long cord, and she's talking on the phone through these various shots. And here's Craig. There was going to be a cat in it because, you know, me and cats.
Yeah.
There's a cat. I don't know if you can see him, but he's sitting here
Yeah.
next to Craig. Early on,
No.
we had a cat, and it was just a ranch cat. The ranch cats were so cool. They were like not afraid of anything, and all they wanted to do was come inside the house, which they were not allowed to be in the house,
Oh,
and they knew it. So if letting them into the house, they would do anything you say. They're very smart. They like you'd say, walk over there. This cat would move. He's just like, as long as he got to be in the house. And we were shooting with Coleman in those early scenes where he's like, you know, in the bedroom putting his shoes on.
oh yeah.
And he's supposed to pick up the cat off the bed and like put him on the ground and walk out. And he does that. We have a shot of him doing this with the cat. It's brilliant. The little cat walks ahead of him. Then Coleman starts sneezing. I'm like, are you? And he's like, I totally forgot my my allergy medicine in LA. I was like, get this cat out of this house, because then he was going to have
A reaction you can't film. But this
Yeah.
cat sounds better than most human actors.
He was. I know. There's always these pictures of him like crawling. He would crawl up me and sit on my shoulders. So anyway, so Craig over here, he can't move. In fact, actually, I could just show you the movie as well too. Here he is. You don't want to look at that. Here we go.
Oh, we love Craig.
So this is Malcolm Getz playing Craig, and you
Right.
can see he's look real good. He's got that tracheotomy scar at the bottom there, and he's
The details of
Yeah.
this film.
So I'm just gonna play this with
Yeah.
sound off to it. There's our award-winning horse. So yeah, he's sitting here kind of stuck listening to his sister talk on that. Look at that yellow phone with that cord, and then your character Sarah was her name.
Oh right.
Was chatting
Yeah.
with her, right? And here she is turning the channel and adding more sound.
She turns it up. Yeah, she
turns
turns it up, and then
got these televangelists talking, and I'll turn on the audio, but I don't know that it'll work.
it doesn't really matter, because
Yeah.
it's like what's so cool about this though is, so many people are inspired by film and talk about wanting to make a film or wanting to be an actor, right? And PJ, you and I are we're the lucky ones, right? We get
Yeah.
to do our dream as our job. But people do not realize the level of commitment, the level of being like truly jack of all trades, especially when you're a producer like yourself, producer, director, writer, like the amount of things that go into making a film, even a film that's shorter, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What I love about you and your brain, and you see it very much in the film, is the attention to detail. Like you said, the tracheotomy scar.
Yeah.
Even like the phone cord, it hits the counter at one point, and you even have that sound in there.
Yeah, and that's not real sound. We put that in.
Like it's but
because in reality, it didn't hit the counter really. But we like, and in reality, the art department's just standing next to her holding the cord. It wasn't a real thing,
But yeah, there's so many people that go into making a film, and like, I played this tiny little part, but I'm very proud of my little part. Not just because the film has gotten the attention it's gotten, but because of the message. And that's why it's so cool that we're making it available. I say we like I had any part of it, but that you're making it available to everyone.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, so real talk, actor friends, you want to learn from the best, you watch this film. I mean, it's some of the best, some of the best physical acting I've ever seen. I mean, the role of Craig doesn't have any lines, right? We don't have any. It's some of the best acting I've ever seen, easily. Not even a question. And we all know, well, I say we all know, but most people know Coleman Domingo because he's a big deal. Yeah. He's a big deal, and he's he's a powerhouse in really anything.
Yeah.
It's funny, I've now watched him on multiple things, and I am always surprised. There is never a time where I'm like sitting back on my heels, I guess would be the best way to put it. I mean, what was casting like for this?
It was hard. Nothing's easy, Bethany. It's just not easy. Um, but I say that in that I made it hard. I made it hard. I did because I wanted what I wanted. I wanted to get the biggest people I could get in this film. And it's not just because, oh, I want to work with the biggest people. Sure. Did I need that? No. But I knew if I got obviously I'm going to get the performance, but people will watch the film. And it's a short film. I mean, I can't buy billboards or bus ads or commercials for it. I can't advertise it. So how is it going to get found? So I thought, well, we can try to stack it with very famous people if they're willing to come work with us on it. It'd be a dream come true if they do, because I get to work with them, but also people will find the film. Like we just released it on YouTube. YouTube's a search engine. People typing in Coleman Domingo for any reason are going to find our film.
Yeah.
Without him, I wouldn't have that. Same thing with Kevin Bacon. I mean, my God, that his name alone. And again, do you need to have a celebrity at that level in your short film? No, you don't. But I also really had a mission here. I wanted to get this movie, this story, this representation out there. You and I have talked about moving the needle. I wanted to do it and was worth it. So to me, to take the time to find this cast, it took a long time. It took a long time to get it out to all sorts of different people who said no. And then when certain people, like when Kevin said yes, we shot his scenes right away. And then with Coleman, I always wanted him. He was on my vision boards way before we shot, and he just wasn't available. He works a lot. The guy is just very, very busy. We sent him the script through the casting director. The casting director knew his manager, which was made it even easier. But so that was a nice stroke of luck. But they were just like, yeah, it's lovely, but he's busy for like 3 years, and then when it came down to doing the film, after being pushed a few times for other actor schedules, and then COVID pushed us horribly.
Right.
We lost all the money, and then we had to go raise all the money again, and all these things. And we had this very short window to shoot, because where we shot so far up in the mountains that they shut the gate to the highway. There's a gate on the highway.
Oh, right. It's like truly remote.
Yeah, they shut that gate at like November 12th. They don't open it until March. It's just locked because they're not going to plow the roads. Nobody's up there. And if you go up there, you're going to die. So don't go. So, the state's like, don't go past
Don't do that.
And this is a highway. It's a literal California Highway 3, has gates on it. And we had to get our shooting done before they shut the gates, right? Mm-hmm. And because snow comes, and then we're stuck. So there's all these different things. It was just like how hard it is to put it all together. And just about a month before shooting, the cast we had, the person I had as the lead had a schedule conflict, and he couldn't do the movie. I was like, I've pushed it like 3 times, 4 times, and COVID and all these things, and I just lost the whole film again. It was really traumatic. And I was at the location when I got that message. I was up there casting the horse.
Oh my God.
Horse casting. But and also this location, it doesn't have cell service. There is no cell service. There's no cable TV. There's no satellite TV. There's electricity, and there's running water. That's it. You're not getting anything else. The mountains are too high for satellite, and it's just the whole thing.
Yeah.
So but one of the ranchers had put some sort of device on top of a tree, so you can get Wi-Fi if you stood next to the tree.
Yeah, stand next to the tree. I got you. Okay.
So like the Wi-Fi tree.
Yeah, it's like the giving tree.
One terrible little bar, it's as if it's 2006 or something. I think it was like 1G. So, and at the end of the day, also there's forest fires raging up there, and so nearby. So now there's lots of animals, like mountain lions and stuff, are in our area because they're being pushed in from the other part of the county. And so you have to be indoors when the sun goes down because there's just too much wildlife out there. And I was there alone. I don't actually have other people with me because, I didn't need anybody with me to go the horse. And I got the message while I was there that the actor couldn't do the movie. So I called the casting director from the Wi-Fi tree, and I said, we lost the film. We're done. I can't. And I was just devastated because it was just years of work. And he said, well, reach out to Coleman Domingo. And I was like, well, he already said no. I said, he's busy for years. And he's like, well, PJ, you're a man who's got nothing to lose. And so I like stood at the tree with my iPhone. I typed a note to Coleman on my notes, and I sent it off to the casting director. And I went to my cabin before the mountain lions came out, and stone cold sober because there's no stores up there, and I couldn't go buy liquor, and there's no bars, there's nothing. Like it's like a 2-hour drive to a grocery store.
This was truly life or death casting.
It was
Like you
horrible.
put your life on the line.
I had nothing. I had no liquor. I had no weed. I had nothing but my sober thoughts. I had no television. I had no internet. Nothing. In a cabin. I had been in the cabin at like 4:30 in the afternoon until the sun came up by myself, thinking about how I just destroyed my entire career because everything was gone.
Everything's gone.
And yeah, and so I got up the next morning after staying up all night and went back to the Wi-Fi tree to check my Instagram because I'm not a monster. Of course, it's the first thing I do.
Yeah.
And I had a direct message from Coleman Domingo in my DMs, like in my Instagram. He doesn't follow me, but he found me. And it was just a picture of him riding a horse. It was like, no way, this is not happening. And then his number popped up. And he said, call him. So I drove down the road to where I can get good cell service and called him. And actually, I was headed home. I was headed back down Highway 5 to LA to talk with him. And he was just like, hey, I just wanted you to hear it from me. I'm going to be on your set in like 10 days. And I said, no. I said, Coleman, no. I said, I just can't take it. I can't take the ups and downs. You don't know what you're getting into. You don't know me. I don't know you.
This is a lot.
And like, it's so lovely, but like, you don't know. And he's like, PJ, I'm doing it. And he's like, I read your script. I've already talked to all my agents and managers. And I told them that scripts like these are why we got into the film business. We're doing this movie.
Yes.
And I was like, but I can't fly you to location. SAG won't let us fly. This is pre-vaccine. So I'm like, you can't go on a plane because your union won't let me because of COVID. You have to sit in the back of a 15-pass van with nobody in it, with all the windows open, wearing a mask, with one driver up front.
Oh my.
For 12 hours from LA to location. That's the rule. And he's like, honey, he's like, don't worry. I'm in Austin, Texas right now. It's like 20 hours from here. I was like, and the man
did it.
Like I got up there and I didn't believe it. I was like, okay. And even the day he was supposed to get there, I just kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. And sure enough, the SUV pulled up and he stepped out and he did my movie. So that's the casting.
I think what is kind of cool, and I don't know if you've thought about this, is that your experience making this film is very much mirrors the queer experience in America.
Oh, yeah,
especially right now.
Yeah.
And the I have nothing to lose. I just have to persevere. There is no other option for me.
Yeah, there's no option. Yeah, people are like, well, actually people say, oh, your tenacity. I'm like, no, survival. It was just survival. It was tenacity. Sure, I didn't give up. I did not. I kept pushing forward. But at the same time, what else was I going to do?
This meant everything.
Drink myself to death? No, that's not an option. I thought about it.
Yeah, we all thought about it, I think, during COVID. Well, and that was what was kind of funny about this and like the timing of everything. So we've established this, and most of the people who will watch this know this, that I was mostly doing stage work, and that's completely my love. My first love is new work, especially with the playwright in the room. I always like development. That's what I like to work on as an actor. And then COVID happened, and I had actually gotten, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, so I'm not going to say it. I had actually gotten a role in a Netflix series. And then COVID happened. They're like, not only did we cut your role, like they cut the whole like we're done. Everything's done. And I had really thought like, oh, this was my break. We wait around, right, as an actor a little bit. And I had booked out my year with plays and everything goes away. And then I was like, well, I'm a woman with nothing to lose. I'm going to get into voiceover because I've wanted to do it. It sounds fun. I'm one of the weird cases, right?
I didn't know this.
Oh, yeah.
You're so good at it. Like,
and I tell people all the time.
I swear to God, in my mind, you've been doing this for like 30 years or however old you are. You've just always been doing it.
I've always been doing it. And in many ways,
your reel is really good, Bethany. I mean, I listened to everything. I didn't draw a name out of a hat when I cast you. I'm very, very specific.
Thank you. What was funny is when you cast me, I still did not have a professional demo. Like that was me in my booth putting things together with royalty-free music and being like,
Sure, yeah.
hope
I mean,
nobody finds out.
I do. I think a lot of people do that, but that's great. I mean,
Yeah, you make
you
it
did
work.
specs. I mean, as a director, I did spec commercials, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know that I thought that, but I'm not surprised. I mean, you should do that. That's a really good idea. So no,
But
that was. So I'm just saying, like, I thought you'd been doing this for
and
ages.
thank you. And I mean, it was so special. Like Coleman said, like this is why why he got into film, why we become artists. It was actually the same thing for me. And I joke that I am the commercial queen. I love commercial work. I love voicing commercial work. I love pretty much everything about it. I'm one of those weirdos that I like talking to the legal team. I'm married to a lawyer. I'm used to them. I like, working with the client. And it's probably the people pleaser in me that I like the feedback. I like the directed sessions.
Well, I think curiosity, though, right? I'm kind of
Yes.
the same way in a lot of ways. It's like I'm curious, and also it's kind of fun to talk to the lawyer, and then also to be done. I'm like, well, I don't have to do that anymore. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Exactly. There's the curiosity. And I think again, that's what all artists probably have in common, this curiosity. What else can I do? What else is out there? And what is going to inspire me? So when this audition came through, and it was just on a pay to play site, you didn't go super fancy by any means. It's not like you were just looking. And I remember seeing the audition, and the breakdown was actually for an older woman, but I wasn't worried about that at all because I read the scene, and right, I didn't have context for it, but I was like, it's an acting job. And now all voiceover is an acting job, but this was like, I was like, oh yeah, like
Yeah,
this is a scene.
I'm going to
I
show the script I sent over for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, keep talking though. Here,
And I know I just remember feeling like so excited because I was definitely yeah, I I was familiar with the layout. It was like coming home in a way. I hadn't done a lot of film work, but I've seen enough scripts, and I yeah, I just remember like reading it and knowing exactly first of all, who Aaron was. I
hmm
actually wasn't so sure who Sarah was.
hmm
But I knew exactly who Aaron was. And that was so exciting and terrifying. Like, wow, this woman is universal. And I don't know that Dr. Owen Broderick is Kevin Bacon at this point. I'm the missing last piece of the puzzle, but I am enthralled with the whole thing. And I remember being sad when I finished it. I did it like 3 times back to back because I was excited. But I remember being so sad like that it was only a couple pages. Like
Yeah,
I wanted a full scene. And that's the greedy actor, right? Like we always want more, but I just was so excited. And then when I got to meet you, it really all came together. I got to know what I was working on. And that's what's so weird about voiceover is you do a lot of stuff and you have no idea where it's going to end up. You have
yeah, yeah.
especially voiceover for short film stuff like this. This is probably my third one. I've actually not seen the other two. I don't know if they ever made it. Like I don't know if that ever, or if my voice ever made it into the film. And that
Yeah.
was the other thing I had to tell myself, that you might at the end of the day decide that you didn't need Sarah.
Oh, that was no, that was we have cuts without her. No, that was for sure. I didn't know. And here I think I misspoke earlier. I misremembered.
Yes.
I did write this script I wrote it on set while we were shooting because I needed to time out
Oh yeah.
Audrey's spacing. So because she was like, she comes to me, she goes, well, I don't know how, like, when should I pause? I'm like, oh, right, I should probably write you the whole thing. So I stayed up the night before we shot and I wrote this script. And then our script supervisor read all these off camera for her. So that way the timing was there for whoever ended up being you. What I also like about showing the script is like, look how much is happening. There's so much dialogue. There's Sarah and Jess and Aaron and Dr. Owen all talking at the same time, and what was fun in the edit was pulling up in the sound mix what you'll hear, right? There's little tidbits of what you can actually hear your character say or what the television says. You can always hear Aaron because her face is right there in the thing. But it was like little, going through and cherry picking out ideas and emotions and thoughts that we want the audience to pick up on, even if it doesn't make entire sense linearly, because you're sort of in the middle of
There's
And
always
actually, I think as an audience member, you may not realize that we're the ones feeding you certain lines. But I think what it sounds like, it's meant to sound like you caught something, but actually it was on purpose. We made sure you caught it.
well, and that was what was really fun when I did see the final edit, and I was like, ah, I made it, right? Like, I was
Yeah.
like, they got
Yeah. Because and honestly, it's not,
yeah,
obviously it's not personal, but like if it didn't
no.
work, we would have not used it.
And I tell everyone, I was like, as long as you get paid, there's no reason to pout, okay?
Yeah.
So if you don't make it, you still got your check. Just go home. Like it's one of the I very much have that I don't know, sense of like live and let like you just gotta let it go at a certain point, right?
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
it's not personal, but I was so excited when I saw it. And you're right, you don't realize as an audience member what you're actually picking up. And it is also, again, this great contrast between the world that Malcolm and Coleman have built and their characters have built, and this quiet, like you said, it's almost it's reverent.
Yeah.
There's a sense of spirituality, almost like a practice. You
Yeah.
you you get a sense that their day-to-day life is this spiritual practice of saying goodbye in many ways. And then what we all experience, which is our lives are loud. Our lives are really
They are,
loud.
right? Yeah. Bethany, that's exactly, maybe we talked about this. That's exactly why I did this, because like, I put this TV in there and all this noise because this is how we live, right? Like
Yes.
this is my little bit of commentary about like, hey, we've got a lot of input in our lives. And here it's a cabin in the middle of the woods. And even this, where she's able to bring in a lot of chaos of the outside world. If you think about like, even if you go to the gym or you pump gas these days and there's a monitor on the gas pump that
Yes.
is playing the news or whatever, and you can't get it. And I think we just think that that's life, and then plus we're on our phones all day, it just never stops. And that's sort of what I did here, was try to get the layer all that in, because all that noise is just the background noise of our lives, and I think it's unhealthy, which I was trying to show.
I definitely unhealthy. And it's funny, as somebody who I make my living off of the noise. Like, I'm well aware that I am part of the noise, especially because of all the commercial work I do. And that's what, honestly, what makes for good voiceover is cutting through the noise. How do you stand out? How do you make it personal?
Yeah.
In really, really all art, let's be honest. I would say, how do you make it personal? How
Yeah.
do you connect? And that was something that this film didn't have to try to do. It just did.
Yeah.
I think when, and I'm gonna be cliche for a second, but I think, PJ, when you lead with your heart, and that's exactly what you did, it speaks for itself. I mean,
Yeah. It took I learned a few lessons making this movie and writing the script, and some of the biggest ones were, I can't remember which, it was a writing book, somewhere around here. And in it, the advice from the writer was, you don't write what scares you. Because people always say, oh, write what scares you. And this
yeah.
guy's like, don't write what scares you. Write what's going to change your life. And I found that to be so much scarier. I'm like, whoa, change my life.
It's a tall
That's
order.
a really tall order. And what do you talk? Oh, you mean be vulnerable? Shit. And that's what I did here. I had to get very vulnerable in order to get this script to where it's at, and even just the way the characters are. My original script, it was a straight couple. And because it was based on some people I know that kind of went through something similar to this. Not the horse and not the sister, but
Not the horse.
they didn't have to deal with their horse the way that you have to in this movie, but these characters have to. The people I knew weren't losing everything, but one of the partners, she had a stroke, and that was it. She never spoke again, and her husband took care of her. He moved indoors. He was this big outdoor cowboy, and he ended up moving indoors and taking care of her. And I thought, God, that's so beautiful, such a beautiful thing. And he could have moved her to town, and he wouldn't do it. He was
No.
just like, I'm keeping her in the house where we raised our kids. And they were only like 50. They were way too young for this to happen.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking to myself, oh, right. He is her North Star. She knows that he'll always have her back. And so I kind of did a writing exercise using their story as inspiration. And it made a beautiful little story. But then when I got vulnerable and had to like write something that might change my life, I had my own relationship, which is a same gendered multicultural relationship, just like you see in the film. The difference is my partner and I are not cowboys, and neither one of us is sick, thank God. And we don't have a horse, so
No butterscotch.
we have a cat, but we're not allergic. Um, so yeah, that's yeah. I do think the best art comes from your heart, and I think that's and it doesn't have to be like, look, like that. This story is not my story. I'm not living those guys'
Oh.
lives. The things that are dealing with the sister and some of the stuff that's said, yeah, that's straight out of my life. But the context of it here, no, it's made up, and it's made up on purpose because I thought, it's a good way to get this story out there and to move the needle and get people to be interested in something. So
Well, I can't thank you enough for honest. I'm like getting emotional hearing you talk about it. Because I got married as well during this pandemic, to a man, but I am a bisexual woman, and now I'm in this, straight facing couple. And I didn't even realize all of the things, in particular that Aaron says that I had ingrained, that
yeah,
had just been ingrained. And
yeah,
so this story is so powerful in that way because there are so many stories, right, that we tell ourselves that have been told to us, and
yeah,
our identities have taken shape based on these
yeah,
things.
yeah,
But North Star is, again, it's about coming home. It's about coming home to who you are, and finding the people that remind you, help mirror that back. What's your truth? Who are you
yeah.
really? Yeah, thank you so much for letting me be a part of it.
Oh
Thank you for
yeah, I'm so glad that it's you, and like you did such a great job. I think, to be honest, that's part of why it stayed in. Is like, it was like, it's so good though. How do we can't really live without it. And I'm not kidding. These were many conversations with the editor and sound about whether or not to keep it in there, because they're, the
I'm
more we put it in there, the less we hear of Kevin and Laura,
yes.
right? And
And
it's like, wait,
I'm taking up Kevin Bacon's screen time
Kevin Bacon. We're gonna put somebody in the film that we can't see.
that nobody knows. She's from Indiana.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And thank you for sitting down and having this conversation. It's a pleasure, and it's really fun to talk about the different types of voiceover and about this special film. We're gonna have the link below. We're gonna, shout it from the rooftops, honestly, because we want everyone to see this film.
yeah.
So
And if you work in voiceover like Bethany does, if you know her and you know her work, or if that's something you do, watch this film, listen to it deeply, and really take a good listen to what she's doing in it. It's I know you and I had some pretty great conversations about the character going into it, which I loved. And you hit the nail on the head with the sort of background we came up with, and
yeah.
sort of the story we made up that only I think you and I know.
And
Nobody else
only
knows.
we know. It was really fun.
But it works. But it translates into
Really.
something that an audience like, no, that sounds real, and because there was a good reality to it.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yay.
Thank you.